And this segment is going to be led by Linus Mwashigadi. Over to you.
A very good morning to all of you. We welcome you to the Citizens Assembly here today. In this session, we will get to hear from the victims themselves what they faced, their first-hand accounts. For those that are joining us virtually, we welcome you, and you can join in the conversation. For the first speaker, I'd like to call Nadia Nthia to come up and to take us through her experience and the police brutality she met during her protest. You can begin with explaining who you are, and perhaps there or here. Okay, you can just have a seat here. And then we can have a series of questions, and then we'll open the floor for Q&A. For those that are here, you can join by reserving your questions. And those that are live, you can also post your questions online. Is it on? No, it's not. It's on. Thank you so much, Nadia, for being brave and coming forward to share some of your experiences and the police brutality that you met while you were protesting. Let's begin by you introducing yourself. Who is Nadia, and why did you protest? Let's begin from there.
Good morning. My name is Nadia Nthia. I am a lawyer. I am an advocate trainee at the Kenya School of Law, admitted to the Advocates Training Program 2024-2025. And I joined the movement majorly because I believed in the cause. We were fighting the system over economic policies that were set to disproportionate the common mwananchi. So that was my motivation. We need a society that works for all of us. We need systems that work. So, yeah.
What are some of your experience, if you can recount and tell us? What did you experience?
Wow. I experienced quite a lot. I was abducted. About 2 or so weeks ago with my partner. And according to our captors, they had been trailing me for about a week before they took me, just waiting for the order to say, okay, now you can take her. And the day before they took me, I moved out of my house temporarily. I went to stay with my partner because I believed I was going to be safe there. But they found me even there. My phone had been off for like 2 days. I was communicating majorly with my laptop. I had my apps on my laptop. My phone was off because I had been told they were tracking me using my number. So, I was saying, sorry, ADHD. The day before they took me, I had come from school, from the Kenya School of Law. I wasn't using my phone entirely. Even the trip that I took from the Kenya School of Law to the house, my partner had to request from his phone, and I was paying for things in cash. It was crazy. I was living in fear for about a week before they took me. I was purely, entirely in hiding, but they still found me. So anyway, so at around 6 p.m. the day before, I got to the house, and something just told me, you know what, check the window, like look outside. And I checked, and I saw a silver SUV parked outside, and 3 men got out of it. So I called my partner at that time using my laptop on WhatsApp. And I told him, okay, you know what? There is a silver SUV parked outside. There are 3 guys moving around. I'm scared that they're going to take me right now. I don't know what to do. So he tells me, just calm down, breathe, observe, text me everything, like tell me everything that's going on. I'm on my way. So I observed them for about half an hour. They were just moving around. It was like surveillance of some sort. So they were moving around, observing the area. I don't know what they were trying to find really, but that went on for like half an hour. Then they left. And around the same time they were leaving, he arrived. I was so scared. I was rooted to one spot of the living room the entire time until he got there. Then I was like, oh, phew, now I can breathe. So that evening went by. It was very calm. It was peaceful. We slept.
What was your emotional state at that point?
My anxiety was so bad. I was having panic attacks after every couple of hours. It was insane because the day before they had taken my friend Shadrach, so I had a feeling that they were going to come for me next, especially if they went through his phone. Yeah, so that evening went by it was calm, it was quiet, we slept. I wasn't able to sleep much during that period because, of course, nerves, anxiety. So at around 4 a.m., I hear movements outside. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's the neighbors coming, getting home from somewhere. And I brushed it off as nothing. And then they knocked. They knocked at our door. And I brushed that off as well. The knocking got louder and louder. And at that point, I woke him up. I was like, they're here. They've come for me. And before that, I had typed out a tweet on my laptop that I was going to send out when they came. It was like, Wamenichukua. But I didn't even have time to send that out. Yeah, so I woke him up. I told him, there's someone at the door. So he got up. I'm scared. I'm shaken. It is so loud. They wanted to break down the door at that point. They shouted something at him in Luo, Nyerere something. He later told me it meant, open this door or we're going to break it down. Mm-hmm. So he went to the door. I stayed in the bedroom, scared as hell. I'm still in my nightwear. I was fixed to that spot. I didn't know what to do. He went to the door, he opened it. As soon as he opened it, they put him down. Blindfolded him, tied him up, came in to look for me. They were 7 with guns as big as me.
Could you tell their faces?
No, I could not. They were wearing baklavas, they were masked up, so I could not see their faces at all. I could just hear voices. It was just voices. So they put him down, came into the bedroom looking for me. Mm-hmm. I saw their guns and, dude, I'm very short. So when I tell you their guns are as big as me, I saw them and the first thing that came to my mind was, why are they coming to get us a little girl with military-grade weapons? I'm not a terrorist. The only thing I did wrong was use my social media and my voice for a cause that I believed in, for a cause that millions of Kenyans believe in. So at that, I told you I was still in my nightwear. So they wanted to take me like that, but one of them had sense and said, no, let her get into something that's a bit warmer, more appropriate. Yeah, they didn't even want to let me dress up. They were just standing there, watching me, waiting for me to undress and give them some kind of show. They're sick people. No, but one of them, the one who had sense, mm-hmm. Yeah, the sense was constant. He told them, okay, maybe we can give her a minute to get changed. And then, yeah. So I dressed up. I just put a t-shirt and one of my official pants on and this exact jacket and a sweater, and I took one for him as well. I didn't know they were going to take him. Initially, I thought, okay, they're just going to come for me and he's going to get me out. But they took him too. So I took a jacket for him and they tied us up, they blindfolded us, and we left. So it took us down the stairs.
Blindfolded from
the house.
From the house.
There were instances where they used to take off the blindfold, like if we went to the washroom, which we went to a lot. So they took us into the car. I don't even know if we locked the house. I have no idea what happened after that. At that point in my head, I was just like, oh God, shit. Sorry for the colorful language, but that's what was going on in my head. So they put us in a car I didn't know we were in the same car because later on I was told there were 3. So in my head, I was also thinking, okay, where did they take him? What are they going to do to him? Not my partner. Where did they take him? And then later on I came to realize, oh, he's right here. So calm down a bit. So they put us in the cars and we drove for nearly 20 minutes, got to our destination. The entire time, these guys are hitting my head, like, usijaribu kutoa your blindfolds, utanikasirisha, and you don't want to make me mad. So they're hitting my head, confirming, is this thing on? It was so tight, my head hurt so bad, my ears, it was crazy. So we got there, we sat in the car for about 10 minutes, and the entire time they're like, other guys came and they were like, oh, unda Nadia, oh, unda ring leader, nkasichana kadogo, ndo kana ring leader tu kwenda maandamano. So I'm like, every time I'm scared, I'm like, mimi sija ring leader tu, that's all I kept saying. And they took us inside. It felt like a house. So they took us inside the house and put us in a room. Later I realized there were 2 beds. So my partner was in the other one and I was on the one on the right. Still blindfolded this entire time and tied up. So they left us there for a few minutes. And then I think we were handed over. The people who took us are not the same people who were interrogating us. So we were handed over from one team to another.
I'd like to call other guys who are also in the room, Ernest Nyerere and Bill Simani, to also recount on their experience as well, so that we can get the conversation going and it becomes more an engagement. Thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Thank you so much. It's Billy, correct?
Yeah.
For coming on stage. Ernest will be joining us shortly. Just briefly recount for us how the experience was for you.
Hi. My name is Billy Simani, otherwise known as Crazy Nairobian. Okay, for me, I was, I think, the first guy to be abducted. So for me, it was more of a surprise. We had just come from a successful Thursday maandamano. So on Friday, I was still asleep throughout the day. I just woke up constantly to tweet and go back to sleep. So at 3 p.m., I think it was on 21st June, I had a knock on the door. At first, I thought it was the caretaker because that's the only person that can knock at my door. So I went to open the door. So I was still in my t-shirt and my short. I went to the door, opened it, and I saw it was 4 guys in balaclava. The 5th one was a lady because she had on a face mask. And the first question they asked me was, Billy? And out of shock, I answered, yes. Na yote nyote wameshikilia mlango. So they all rushed in. The first guy ran to the balcony. I think they thought that maybe I would escape. Mm-hmm. Then the second one went to the bedroom. And then the third one, it was this huge guy. He told me to face the wall. Alafu, they told me to sit down. And the next thing I know, I was being slapped with brand new wrist bracelets. Yani pin nyuma. Alafu, the other guy went for my laptop and my phone. And then they started interrogating me. First, they asked me to open my phone. They wanted me to unlock my phone, but I refused. And then the whole time I was asking, nimefanya nini? Nataka nijue nimefanya nini? And they silenced me with a few rounds of claps, all of them.
Wow.
And so I realized this is not usual. Because first of all, I was just tweeting normally. I hadn't done anything wrong. And the other guy went for my t-shirt, the maandamano t-shirt, it was on my chair. I thought maybe they were taking evidence but they wanted to use the t-shirt to cover me up. So the whole time I was pleading with them to at least let me put on some pair of trousers, but they refused. And then they asked me the last time, tufungulie simu tafadhali. And I told them, mimi niambie kwanza mnanishikia nini ndio nijue. They silenced me once again with a few rounds of clap, all of them. And you know I live on the 7th floor. And that's the first time ever since I moved into that building that I telemuka stairs na I think it was a few seconds because they were too quick. I couldn't see because walikuwa wameni cover up. The next thing I know, I'm being sandwiched in the back of a car. I think there was one guy on my right, the other one on my left. And then we drove around for like 2 hours. So me, in my mind, I knew that I'm being taken out of Nairobi somewhere. And I knew this was it because first of all, they didn't introduce themselves. Second of all, I've been blindfolded. So the next thing I knew, story yangu imeisha hivyo. So we drove around for like 2 hours. Then they started whispering. And then one of them was asking for directions from someone on the phone. And then they sent him the pin. And then the next thing I know, I'm pulling up to, I don't know, one of them, they stopped the car, they came out, and then one of them was like, ni hapa? Then the others were like, yeah, ni hapa. Wakasema, sawa, toa hiyo jamaa tumalizane na hapa kwa kahawa, tuende kufanya kazi ingine. And I knew that was it. And then the next thing I know, I'm being taken out of the car. I was still in my t-shirt, my short, barefoot, hands tied behind my back. I've been blindfolded. The next thing I know, I'm being taken down the stairs into a room. It was a very cold room. Then they told me to lie on my stomach. They asked my name. I told them Bilisimani. The next thing they wanted my ID number. The next thing they asked me where I come from. I think on contact kujua ushago ni wapi. I told them. Then they asked me nimeshikiwa wapi. So I was like, I thought these were the guys that brought me here. So I think those were the other guys that I was handed to who were asking questions. They made me lie on that floor for like an hour. Then after an hour, somebody came. They took me upstairs into, I think it was an interrogation room. Those guys at the interrogation room were a bit friendly. The guys at where I was being held up were a bit rough. So the next thing I know, I'm being sat on a chair, and then one of the guys started asking me questions. They asked me the usual question: what is your name, your ID number, where do you live, your social media handles. They wanted Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And then the next thing they told me was, we're going to ask you questions and you're going to answer us. If you don't, first of all, this is not a police station, so they might not find you, so you have to cooperate. And I was like, this was it. So they wanted to know who was funding these protests. And I told them, no one, it's just the youth. There are people who are coming up and buying water. Some people are coming up and buying t-shirts. Watu wanajitolea tu. Then they told me, the reason why we have brought you here is because tungeongea nawe kwako, ulikuwa kichwa ngumu. First of all, we need you to unlock that phone. And I was like, mimi nataka nijue nimeshikiwa nini. And they told me once more, I'm the one asking the questions. You're going to open this phone because we want to see something. And then I just decided to open the phone for them. I told them the code. They checked. I think they were looking to see if somebody was funding us, and they didn't find anything. So they took me down to where I was being held. I think it was a downstairs. It was a very cold room. I slept there the whole night. My hands on my back, still in my short and t-shirt the whole night. So they came for me the next day. That's when they brought in tea. And then they transferred my hands to the front. And then after tea, I was taken back to the interrogation room. And then the guy was friendly enough to ask for a blanket. And then they told me, we wanted you to first to meditate and think about your questions first. So I think now you're ready to cooperate with us and tell us what you want to know.
Perhaps, so, Billy, during the entire time, paint us that experience that you had that entire time, because you're talking of you being slapped at the back, you being tied up, your hands, having to sleep in a cold room the entire night. Just paint us in a minute how that experience was for you.
The whole time I was trying to think, what tweet gave me out? Like, what did I say? Because the only thing I know, I was protesting like the rest of my colleagues. So I was wondering why I was brought here. And the whole entire time I didn't know why I was brought there. Like, I knew this was the end for me. So it was like a psychological warfare, because first of all, they removed the cuffs, the handcuffs, and then they replaced them with, they're called ziplock. Zip ties. And the more I was struggling, the more they were tightening. So my hands were numb. I couldn't sleep the entire time. I was trying to like listen and know where I was, but there was no sound, no nothing. I didn't know if there was anybody in the room. So I wasn't even sure if I was in a police station or what. But I later realized the following day when they transferred the hands to the front, when I had the chance and lifted my blinds, I was in a toilet. I was actually in a toilet. It's a very small toilet. And that's where I was held the whole night. And then they would occasionally come. And when they came, they announced that they are coming, so I had to face the wall. Then they tightened the blindfolds again. They take me to the interrogation room. I think by that time, people had made enough noise on social media. I was all over, I was in the news, and they were tense at that fast, and they were telling me, your friends think that we have killed you. They're making noise all over. So we're not here to kill you. We are just trying to keep the country at peace. And they told me on Thursday, the day before they arrested me, the protest was so huge, and then goons came in at around, I think, 6, 7, and they started burning a few matatus. They started destroying properties. So in their mind, they thought that maybe we were sponsored by either a politician or someone. So they wanted to know who was this that was sponsoring the protest. And that's when I explained to them that ours is a peaceful protest. That's why we have even printed T-shirts, and we have given out a memo that anybody who is going to appear in the protests, wakuja kama wamevaa black, so that we identify each other. And then they wanted to know how we were going to ensure that the protest was peaceful. And that's why I told them to go and look at my tweets. We had previously said that everybody should use their smartphone. If you see anybody vandalizing anything, take a picture, post it, so that when they try to pin the distraction on us, we at least have evidence. So they went through my tweets and they saw everything that we were telling people. We had even posted how people are supposed to conduct themselves during the peaceful protest. And I think that was what helped me to be alive right now.
Thank you so much, Billy. Ernest, karibu sana to the podium. Just give us a brief introduction of who you are and your participation in the protest and how it impacted you.
All right. I'm Ernest Nyerere. I'm a patriot. A lover of our country. And I work with the President of the Law Society of Kenya. My involvement in the protest was largely piecemeal because I take I take the work that we do with the president very seriously. And it means that you have to understand the delicate balance of sharing your views and how it can affect the responsibility, the greater responsibility that lays on the shoulder of the person that you work with. So as a principal, I try to manage how vocally I share my views. Of course, I have very strong views and I have my own opinions of how things should work, but I understand that extrapolations are a norm in our society. So to avoid such extrapolations, I keep my role as professional as possible, and my involvement in the protest was in supporting the work that the Council of the Law Society of Kenya was doing, and of course, under the leadership of the president. So I wouldn't say I was the number one agitator, but I supported it in a more strategic capacity in the role that I hold.
Thank you so much, Ernest. I'd like to come back to Nadia. What is your perception about civic engagement now that you have experienced police brutality? And according to you, you're protesting, it's your right. What is your perception about civic engagement after the entire police brutality?
Thank you. I believe so far we're doing well with regards educating ourselves and educating members of the society on how we can keep the people who are in these positions of power accountable and keeping the systems in check and whatnot. So, civic education right now, I think, is moving in the direction that it was supposed to be moving in previously. It's better than it was before, I think also because of the incidents that we have had of people getting murdered, people getting maimed, injured, abducted like ourselves. So our society is moving in the right direction, I believe. We are moving in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Nadia. At this point, I'd like to take a comment, not really a comment, but welcome at _Oduk, who is joining the conversation from X. If we could have him, please. Okay, so we're getting him through. So at this point in time, we're just opening the floor for Q&A. So if you have any questions, kindly jot it down and the person to whom you want the question directed to. So I'd like to ask Billy, perhaps, how do you think the victims of police brutality can get support, having gone through yourself police brutality?
I think most of us need like a psychological evaluation, because the moment I was released, the first thing was to switch off my phone, because I'm still paranoid at how they located me, how they even knew my house, my door. Like up to now, my phone is still off. I'm using a different line. And I haven't been staying at one place. I've been staying at different people's places because I'm still afraid, because I think that they might come back for me. So if you know anybody that has been through what you have been through, the best you can do is be there for them, support them, talk to them, because I don't think any of them want to be alone at this time.
To you, Ernest, whipping you back to the conversation from a law perspective, how do you think the demonstrations should be handled from the law perspective with those that are enforcing the law, that is the police, of course?
Well, of course, we have to understand that a democratic society is the number one sort of dream that our constitution envisions. And that is why we have very elaborate structures, institutions, and provisions on ensuring that the people can engage in a democratic manner and ascertain a democratic and fair and equal society. Now, we've all had the conversations that have been there about Article 37 and all the relevant constitutional provisions under the Bill of Rights with respect to participation of the people, how the people are supposed to engage. And the reality is the people of Kenya have come to an awakening that, hey, these are our rights. We gave them to ourselves, and it is upon ourselves to enjoy them. And this realization is because the people that have been entrusted with ascertaining the protections of these rights have failed. You look at the duty of the police under Article 244, they have to uphold constitutional standards of human rights. But is that what they do? When baddies are walking with water bottles and their iPhones and simply trying to talk about what their rights are, and you tear gas them. It's very unfortunate, advocates trying to uphold the right to fair trial, going to police stations to represent people who, mind you, have been unlawfully arrested. Then you tear gas these lawyers, not caring for their health, not caring for their duty to the people. Then what kind of setup are you trying to put in place? We find ourselves in a situation where we stand at the risk of those in positions of power choosing when to suspend the constitution and choosing when to adhere to it when it suits them. And therefore, it is a moment of awakening where we as the people of Kenya need to come together. We need to stand up to all the ills that have characterized our country historically and since the promulgation of the new constitution, and we need to appreciate that we have a wonderful constitution, and it is upon us to make it work for ourselves, because our political leaders have not just failed, they have refused to implement it.
Thank you so much, Ernest. Nadia, just walk us through how this entire experience has really changed in terms of how now you view life and everything else.
My life has changed so drastically in the span of 1 month. I cannot even tell you. As Billy said, we need a lot of psychosocial support. The anxiety, constantly having to look over your shoulder, constantly being scared that people are out to get you. I also haven't stayed in my house for more than 2 days at a go since this thing started. Just jumping from relative to relative, friend to friend. I stayed with my partner also for some time. So it's crazy. As I was telling my story right now, I could feel like a panic attack was coming on, because as I recount those events in my head, I feel like I'm back there.
Phone has to be constantly on flight mode, because I'm getting a lot of calls, relatives, they want to know how I am. So I always reach out to my mom so that she can at least tell them that I'm okay. But at the moment, I'm moving around constantly from house to house, because I don't want to be found in my house again alone.
So much. As from the end, from the Law Society of Kenya, perhaps are you looking at ways in which you can be able to get justice for people like Nadia and Billy?
Well, I'd have to say that I wouldn't want to claim to speak for the Law Society of Kenya, but I would have to admit that it is important that those who are capable and are in positions to intervene do intervene. And of course, I appreciate my relationship with the Law Society, and being a victim myself, I think it is in order that the Law Society takes an active position in representing these people and, finding redress, because as they've shared, the experiences were not easy. There are issues of there must be reparations. That is what we must agree as a people, we must agree as a society. There must be repercussions, there must be consequences. So we would have to say all the things that we have experienced should not go in vain. For instance, the day I was taken is the day I knew hot water tastes good. I ordinarily do not take hot water, but it was the only thing on offer. Yeah, it was the day I was reminded of how it feels kupigwa kofi ya kisogo. I have not been hit on the backside of my head since I was 9 years old, and that's quite some time back. But those reminders came in, and it was a harrowing experience. But we have capacity, we have numbers, we have capability, we have courts that are not just prepared, but are required to make sure that justice is served. And I do believe that all the partners who have taken part in putting this together, the Citizen Assembly, will work as well to ensure that the necessary reparations found for all the victims and all the families of those who lost their lives.
Thank you so much, Ernest. I don't know if the people here have any questions to our panelist. If we could have perhaps the mic going round. If you have any question, just raise up your hand so that we can have an interactive engagement for our panelists here. Yeah, floor manager, there is a question there from the gentleman. And then you can have the lady to my left, the gentleman to my right, the first. Thank you so much. You please state your name and your question and to whom is it directed to.
I don't have a question. I just would like to do something. Can I ask the three of you to stand up and turn around and face that side? I am used to giving instructions. I was in a school in a minute. Please stand up. Come as close to the edge without falling. Okay. Just look there, don't look back. Just be present. The rest of you stand up. I want you to imagine you are back there and all these people have your back. But you could not see them, but they were all calling for your release. But none of them forgot you for that moment. And in that sense, be present to the fact that when we take a stand as human rights activists, we are never alone. There are 56 million people who are slowly beginning to find capacity to protect you. I'm not sure if this is a question, but we have your back.
Thank you so much. We have another question from the second row to my left on this other side. The lady in green, I presume. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My name is Diana Gishengo, and just like Irungo, I have no question. And mine is to say thank you. Thank you very much for your sacrifice, for what you have done for this country. We really thank you. Nadia, erase from your mind, you did nothing wrong. You did nothing wrong in all the posts you did and what you did on the street. We celebrate you, we honor you. I think in addition to having their back, can we all pledge that the torture they went through, in addition to the people who have lost their lives, the firing of cabinet is not enough, is it? Yes. For patriots to have sat in a toilet because they demanded good governance, Parliament must go. Yes. For all the wrong investments in military guns, silencers, we need a new budget. Not the one that he's referring to. We need a new budget. And finally,
If the president could not apologize for this, he said they were fake. Look at these people. They are here, we can see them. Does he deserve to be our president? No. Ruto must? No. Thank you. Thank you for those opinions. Any other round of questions?
Atit Muiroki, just confirm you're able to hear me. Count 1 to 10.
People power. People power. Thank you very much. My name is Brian Okeja. Actually, we really don't even need to ask questions. We need to speak.
Atit Muiroki, just confirm you're able to hear us.
In this country,
Atit Muiroki, _7. Just confirm you're able to hear us.
Bunch of bones and muscles.
If you can, just
doable. It's doable to track them internationally, especially since these are very stupid people who use the dollar system. And so if we make that request and through the Interpol, there's a chain of those requests that they're submitted, but it's doable. And we can focus on that, and there are people who can provide a legal view of this. But what I know is if you are doing money laundering and you are doing it using the dollar at some point, there is a way you can be able to submit requests, and the banks that are involved in that chain can be able to open their accounts, and companies that deposited their money, you can be able to do this investigation with collaboration of other country. Because since I think COVID, there was a law about tackling money laundering worldwide that even Switzerland agreed to. So Switzerland was the firewall of all crimes, but since then they've agreed to some level where, you can be able to, under, international law, they can be able to allow investigative agencies to kind of do investigations within their own banking system when the proof of a crime has been forwarded. So that's possible. That's it. Continue. Who wants to speak? I'll give that to Mohammed. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Kimuzi and your fellow host for the chance to speak. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes. Okay, for me, for the topic of the day, tuendelee ama tusiendelee. For me, I suggest that tuendelee because what happened yesterday is like an enticement to us. You remember, it was one of our irreducible minimum that we wanted. But there are others. Like we said, the IG, Inspector General of Police, we want him to resign. But until today, he has not resigned. So, Tuesday tukienda, I want us to agitate for IG. We need to agitate for various governors to be removed. Like where I come from, Kisii, there is a lot of corruption there. Governor Simbarati has not paid county officers for 3 months. So, governors, we need to look at them. Another one is the Ruto must go. Of course, we need to continue with this. He should do the honorable thing, resign and leave. Before he leave, he needs to dissolve the Parliament of Kenya. The legislature of Kenya is a puppet of the executive. They cannot do things on their own. So, I'm asking for tukienda Tuesday, we agitate for Inspector General to be removed. Number 1. Number 2, we agitate for Ruto must go, of course. Number 3, we agitate for another thing is the is the ID. Nowadays, if you want to apply for a new ID, you need to have 500, something which has been free for so long. So this is wrong. The young people of my age, I'm 22 years old. Young people of my age don't have the IDs. And for them to apply, they need to have 500. If it's replacement, they need to have 1,000 pop. I think it's wrong. How can you pay for your citizenship? This is wrong. We need to agitate for that. Thank you for the chance to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe Sylvia or Babs can go now because a lady hasn't spoken.
Hello. Yeah.
Babs.
Can I speak? Hello?
We can hear you.
We hear you.
You can hear me. Kimuzi, thank you for this space and thank you for your determination. This is so good. This is so great. May God continue blessing you. Tuendele. There's nothing like tuendele. Let's continue with the same momentum. Now, there's a question that I had, and there's a guy who was on the space yesterday. His name was Stay Hidden. Is there a possibility you can put him as a speaker? Because I had a question, because there's somewhere he talked about odious debt. Or if Web.30 can be able to answer for me that question, like odious debt. There's something he talked about, like whereby the public can refuse to pay if it was not money used. The debt was not used for like the development of the country. Something of the sort. Hello?
Yes, thank you, Sylvia. And maybe going forward, if you're willing to speak, you can raise your hand first so that you can have some order. And I think
I've added Stay Hidden.
She's asking question, right?
Yes.
I've added Stay Hidden. I think he should be one of the speakers now.
Yes.
Mm.
Stay Hidden. If it's possible, you could answer that. Because I think also people would like to know. It was quite interesting to hear that, to read that. Over to you, Stay Hidden.
Yeah, I think he's listening. You get a chance and then basically reply. Answer that question. Yeah. I'm trying to make him to unmute his mic. Kimuzi?
Let me. Is Stay Hidden?
Stay Hidden is now among the. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You can go on and answer the questions.
Yes, am I audible?
Yeah, you are. You are. I can hear you.
Kimuzi?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, Stay Hidden, we can hear you. Stay Hidden, you're audible.
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
Hey guys, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yes. Nikaa kona shida.
Inakaa kama kona shida ya connection. Okay. We can have before he connects again, we can have Shieza.
Hi everyone.
Yes, how are you?
I'm very fine. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yeah, you are. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Wamboi Kongo, and in the spirit of tuendelee ama tusiendelee, so many points have been raised here in regards to how to set this country straight in terms of preventing embezzlement, corruption, graft, and all that. And now, I have 3 points, very brief. I'd like to point out. One is one of the ways of sabotaging a state or any institution is through healthcare. And the moment you sabotage the healthcare system, then everybody will come crumbling down, because if you do not have a healthy state, you do not have systems that ensure that citizens actually are able to get medical attention promptly and effectively and efficiently, then we'll always have people who are monopolizing the business. And what do I mean? Currently, when you look at how the system is run, I think for the first time in Kenya since I came into being able to understand things, we've never had an incident where we do not have vaccines in government hospitals. Basic neonatal vaccines, yeah. And I am in the healthcare industry. One of the ways of sabotaging that is, like I said, monopolizing. And how do we ensure that we limit these politicians and these public people from monopolizing the system? When you see we have vaccines that are missing and vaccines that are not available when children or mothers go to get their basic BCG, it means that they are available. Let me start there. We have the vaccines in the country. But what happens is if someone is hoarding them, in a way that the government, Kenyatta National Hospital, Mama Lucy, and all these hospitals are not able to attain, there is someone who is waiting for the crisis to be able to look like a hero to avert this. And one of the ways that we're looking at, we can't lose this fight, is ensuring that we have this conflict of interest bill that is going through, whereby state officials, they're actually able to conduct businesses in the government while they are in the government. Case in point, what happened, let me say during COVID, yeah? If you're a scientist here like me, you would know that getting a vaccine is a tall order. It takes years and years, and especially a viral vaccine. So the same way that no one would explain how less than 9 months after COVID broke out, we had vaccines from all other healthcare manufacturing companies, it's the same way what is happening now. And if this persists, there will come a point when someone will, how do I put it, be a hero by supplying vaccines in these institutions so that we can, quote unquote, worship them. And that is what has been running the citizens over and over and over. So we need to have a way to limit the sabotaging and the monopolizing of healthcare institutions. Another incident or another way that we do this is each one of us has had an opportunity to go to a hospital, private or public. In this case, let me talk about private. When you look at KEMSA, the mandate of KEMSA is to ensure that we do not have any lack of medicine or equipment or services at public hospitals. But today, if you went to a hospital like Gatundu, level 5 hospital, you will find basic things like ECG cannot be done there. This is for people who are hypertensive and need scans for the heart and all that. You'll find something like lab work. It's not available. But what happens when these services are not available? There will always be somewhere you are referred to. True or not true? I know you can confirm this. You will always have a place you are referred to go and get the services there. Then urudi nazo, and then you are reviewed by a doctor. Why? Because people have monopolized the system in a way that if I know that I can benefit outside the hospital setting, then I can set up my own system using public money and through the procurement to be able to divert all the attention to my institution or our institution, say as Mexicana. What am I trying to say? That as we try to fight up there, which is now those guys we can see and we can clearly tell they are corrupt. We need to also start from grassroots level, because the same way we say traffic police are corrupt on kuitisha 50-50 hapa, when we look at tukisema tumalize traffic police, they will only bring more to do the same. That's what I'm trying to say. So we need a system whereby that these people who are handling the systems in our country are not only held accountable on what they do, we also quote unquote privatize it. You know, right now, if you're in a private institution, there's what we call performance by employment by contract, which is performance based. But what we have done is that we have continuously rewarded mediocrity with our public sector, whereby with or without performance, with or without graft, with or without lack of integrity, you are still able to hold position. Point number 2, even as we push for these agendas, remember, when these people go into office or when they are elected, they go into these parliament and assemblies, when they are selling their manifesto, they sugarcoat it, you know, and it looks so good to the eye. But the moment they get there, they want to change what will favor them. So how do we prevent elected leaders or nominated or both that when they get into power, they're actually limited to change the systems to favor them? For instance, when we talk about salary adjustment for all government officials, MPs 200,000, if it's the CSS 400,000, if it's the president 700,000, when they get into power, what do we have in place that they will again not foot a bill that will now reward what it is that we are fighting to prevent against? And that is something that we really need to think about.